The NFL draft dates all the way back to 1936, and while there have been some amazing picks like Tom Brady going last overall, Joe Montana, and Brett Favre going in the 3rd and 2nd round, there have also been a number of picks that didn't quite pan out like teams hoped they would. Some of these picks were supposed to be franchise changing, and boy, did they do that the wrong way. Without further ado, let's get right into it. At number 10, Bo Jackson. Now, while your dad might know, what a lot of young people don't know is that Jackson was actually selected 1st overall in the 1986 draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jackson would go on to have a solid NFL career and is considered one of the greatest athletes of all time across any sports. So why was it a bad pick? Well, Jackson had told the Buccaneers that if they were to draft him, he wouldn't play for them and that he would go play baseball instead. And that is exactly what happened. The Buccaneers sent a jet for Jackson so he could visit and take his physical, but he was ruled ineligible by the SEC. The Buccaneers would have to give up their rights for Jackson, and he was then selected in the 7th round by the Raiders the following year. An absolute waste of a number 1 pick. Since they joined the league in 1995, the Jacksonville Jaguars have consistently been a bad team up until recently, and their 2011 draft choice was one of the reasons why. So at number 9, Blaine Gabbert. Gabbert, a QB out of Missouri, was selected 10th overall, and the Jaguars actually traded up 6 spots to get him. Gabbert would go on to be the worst pick of the franchise's young draft history, playing only 3 seasons with the team, winning just only 5 games and losing 22. He also finished with more interceptions thrown than touchdowns. To make matters even worse, the guy drafted after him, only one of the greatest defensive players of all time, JJ Watt. Let's take it back to another number 1 overall pick now, and 8th on the list, QB Tim Couch. Couch was selected 1st overall by the Cleveland Browns in the 1999 draft and would become their worst of many horrific starting QBs. Couch was the first of 5 QBs selected in the 1st round of the draft that year and was seen as the best QB in the class. Yet, he was nowhere near as good of a player as Donovan McNabb, who was selected with the pick right after him. Couch would go on to have a 22-37 record with the team, throwing 64 touchdowns and 67 interceptions. From 1999 to 2003, Couch ranked 6th in interceptions thrown and 25th in passer rating among qualified QBs. It was a sign of things to come for the franchise, as they are still looking for their guy to this day. Let's keep it going with QBs. The 2017 NFL draft class was absolutely loaded with talent and potential Hall of Famers, and the Chicago Bears thought they found their franchise QB in that mix. The Bears traded up a spot to select QB Mitchell Trubisky 2nd overall. So how did his tenure with the Bears go? Well, since the rookie wage scale was introduced in 2011, Trubisky is the only top 5 QB to not have his 5th-year option picked up by the team. During the time span of 2017 through 2020, there were 47 quarterbacks with at least 500 pass attempts. Trubisky was 41st in passer rating, 37th in yards per attempt, and 29th in touchdown percentage. Outside of getting carried by his defense to 1 playoff game, Mitch was far from a franchise quarterback. The Bears still remain the only franchise that doesn't have a 4,000-yard passer or 30 touchdown thrower. If only they had taken Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes instead of Mitchell Trubisky. Now at number 6, this guy is someone that none of you are going to expect. So I'll start by giving you some hints. He was drafted 11th overall in the 1979 draft by the New Orleans Saints. This pick truly resembled why the Saints were such a laughingstock in the 70s. While the 79 draft class wasn't loaded with Hall of Famers, it did have a couple like Joe Montana, Kellen Winslow, and some other good players like Super Bowl winner Phil Simms. So who did the Saints pick that was that bad? Well, the Saints took Russell Erxleben. Now, if you have to ask yourself, who the heck is that? Ask yourself what position he played next. Erxleben was a punter. Yes, the Saints took a punter in the 1st round of the draft instead of Kellen Winslow, who was selected 2 picks later. Erxleben completed for the place kicker job his rookie season and lost. He would go on to punt for the team for 5 years before being out of the league. Now for this next guy on the list, let's fast forward a little bit and enter into an era of social media. Now why bring that up? Well, social media helped spread a clip of this guy's pro day that might have been the reason a franchise struggled for years. I think you guys know who I'm talking about by now. The 5th biggest bust in NFL history, Zach Wilson. Wilson, a QB out of BYU, had a pro day throw that was all over the internet and social media, leaving many thinking he is going to be the next greatest thing. Yet, he turned out to be the next worst thing for a struggling Jets franchise. Wilson was selected 2nd overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, which while not the best QB draft class, it was definitely a stacked class with talent all over the field. Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, Micah Parsons, just to name a few. Wilson has been in and out as a starter for the Jets. He finishes his time with the Jets with a 23-25 TD to interception ratio and a 73.2 QB rating. At number 4, it's none other than a guy who was picked right after Zach Wilson. Trey Lance, another guy whose career still isn't over, but was an absolute bust by the team who drafted him. The Niners had a plan in place when they drafted Lance to help him grow and become their franchise QB during the Shanahan era, but this quickly turned out to be a disaster. Lance would go on to only start 4 games with the team in a roller coaster of a tenure. He dealt with injuries and constant rotation of QBs as the Niners ended up taking Brock Purdy with the last pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. Lance became one of 7 first-round QBs to never make it to year 3 with the team. But why does Lance stand out? Well, the 49ers traded 3 years worth of first-round picks to move up and draft him. It was a blockbuster move and one of the biggest failures in draft history by far. The Niners have since traded Lance to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick and a bag of potato chips. Moving on, if you thought the trade made to select Lance was a bad move, just wait until you hear this one. Once again, the Saints make the list with another bust of a pick, and this time, they might have made the craziest move in NFL history to do so. In the 1999 draft, the Saints decided to trade their entire draft. Yes, you heard that right. All their draft picks that year and 2 of the first 3 picks in the 2000 draft to the Redskins in exchange for the 5th pick. This is a trade that will set up basically any player for failure, as they have to deliver Super Bowls in order to be worth it. Well, the player didn't deliver Super Bowls. They selected star running back Ricky Williams with the pick, and while he wasn't a bad player, he only spent 3 years with the team before going to Miami. Absolute waste of a trade, to say the least. Now on to number 2, this is a guy that needs no other introduction than Mr. Stephen A. Smith's nickname for him.
Mr. Jabba the Hutt, you fat, slovenly, no good, lazy. Oh, come on.
Yes, at number 2, Jamarcus Russell. The number 1 overall pick in the 2007 draft is one of the biggest failures in NFL history. Russell was an instant problem for the team that hoped he'd be the solution. Russell held out his rookie season while dealing with off-the-field issues, including a bad work ethic and weight problems. In 3 seasons with the Raiders, Russell completed just 52% of his passes and threw 18 touchdowns to 23 interceptions. In 2009, his last season, he finished with the lowest quarterback rating, lowest completion percentage, fewest passing touchdowns, and fewest yards among qualifying quarterbacks. Yet he robbed the Raiders of $31.5 million of guaranteed money. Yikes. And now a quick drum roll for the biggest bust in NFL history. Yep, you guessed it, Ryan Leaf. Leaf was a Heisman finalist at Washington State and was selected 2nd overall in the 1998 draft by the Chargers. But Leaf was doomed with a bad attitude and temper
Don't talk to me, alright? Knock it off!
that derailed his career amongst other off-the-field problems. In his rookie season, he completed just 45% of his passes, he got into an argument with a reporter, and gave an apology many criticized.
I misdirected my anger after the Kansas City game. I was extremely disappointed in my performance, and I let it show.
He missed the next season due to shoulder surgery and was soon released, finishing with a 4-17 record with the team. He would be out of the league by 2001. Not much else to describe this pick other than rock bottom. That'll do it for the video, guys. Thanks so much for watching, as it's always appreciated. Click the screen to watch another video. See you there.